Hola, bienvenidas, bienvenidos. Welcome everyone to our crisis sim today. Gracias, Carlos, por acompañarnos. Thank you very much, Josh, for being here. We're very excited to have this model, our 8th model already on the Cybersecurity Executive Program. So now for everyone in the audience, we're inviting you to play with us today on this crisis sim. So we are sharing a link on the chat and a code that we need you to put on your cell phone and just start playing on this simulation. I'll let Josh and Carlos talk a little bit more about it. So now I'll switch into Spanish. Así que por favor, a todas y a todos les invitamos a que se unan al link que vamos a poner en el chat para que puedan empezar a jugar en esta simulación. Ahí les vamos a compartir un código que les va a pedir. Idealmente esto lo meten en su celular y de aquí van a hacer todas las votaciones. So, without any further comment, Charlie, Josh, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Fau, and welcome everybody. We're really happy to have you here. So today the idea is to engage you in a game where you can see how cybersecurity can affect different instances in a company. So just to be clear, your participation in this game is completely anonymous. There's no information or specific information that we need from you. You only need to connect through the link and the code to participate in the game. Josh, we're really happy to have you here. Thank you for being here with us. And well, just to switch a little bit in Spanish and give the welcome to everybody, I will give you the word after that. So thank you, Josh, for being here. Bueno, pues les agradecemos a todos que estén aquí. Realmente nos emociona que participen con nosotros en este Cybersecurity Executive Program, donde pues queremos como empresa pues participar de manera activa en la creación de una cultura de ciberseguridad. Y bueno, pues el día de hoy a través de un esquema de juego en el que a través de este link y el código ustedes van a poder participar de manera activa en este ejercicio. Pues este ejercicio es un ejercicio de simulación de crisis mediante el cual ustedes van a poder pues ver cómo la toma de decisiones de temas relacionados con ciberseguridad permea a todos los niveles de las empresas y cómo pues no únicamente tiene afectaciones tecnológicas, mediáticas, operativas, sino pues realmente pues tiene un impacto pues que es importante considerar y conocer. Entonces, pues ya sin extenderme más, Josh, please go ahead, my friend, and I welcome you and you can begin now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carlos. And thank you everybody for being here. I'm very excited to play through this. I've done a few of these before where we've got to jump in and just hear people's feedback. And that's something that I'm going to, I think really makes for a good engagement is the feedback. So Carlos and I are going to go through the simulation. Everybody's going to vote. And just to remind you, like Carlos said, everything will be anonymous. So we're not going to see who's voting in different answers. So please, feel free to answer as truthfully as you want. The whole goal is just to get everybody thinking and playing together to get through a crisis. And that's what we're going to do today, is just play through a crisis that's hit our company. So yeah, thank you, Carlos, everybody. Thanks again. I'm very excited to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. The URL has already been put into the chat, but just in case you didn't see it, this is the URL that you will use. You can put this in your phone, on your tablet, on your computer, wherever you want to get to it from. And then secondly, when you get to that URL, it'll ask you for a code, and place this code in, and then we'll be able to all play through. So before we get started into the actual simulation, before the crisis strikes, what we're going to do is I'll just kind of introduce the company that we're going to be a part of, and the role that we'll play and how we're going to think through it. So what we are a financial company. And in a financial company, we have released a new way of doing trading, a new way of interacting with different security markets, so at different equities markets. And we also are a publicly traded company on those markets. So we're publicly traded, and we are providing financial services to a lot of different people. We do this over the phone. So there's a lot of mobile applications, a lot of customer interactions across the phone. As a company, we're growing large. So we're really moving up as a company and really trying to begin to grow quickly in our market. So there's a lot that we have to remember as we are going through the simulation, the way we're going to engage, customers, the way we might have to engage, communications teams on how they'll be able to communicate information. And so we are going to, our company has released a chat bot out on Twitter, and it's called Tommy. And you can go in and chat with Tommy to ask questions about what's going on with the company, ask questions about your account, or, just to kind of engage with the chatbot. So this chatbot's out there, nobody's manning it, which already kind of makes me a little scared because, well, who knows what Tommy's going to say. So we have this new technology rolled out called Tommy, and it is out there and Twitter for everybody to utilize. So we are going to play as members of the incident response team in a management position. So we are going to be decision makers on an incident response team. So we're still going to think very technically, and we're going to answer technical questions, but we're also going to have input to broader strategy questions that we'll come across during the crisis simulation. And just to say one of the things, I have my chat open down here. If we're going to have plenty of different times during the simulation to provide feedback and discussion, Carlos and I, we're going to want to, kind of elicit a sort of, dialogue as we go through the presentation. So please feel free to put that in the chat. I'll be able to read it and make sure that we're able to get all the information that we have in the scenario. So without further ado, let's go ahead, kick it off, and let's see how things go. So starting today, early in the morning, you can see April 29th at 4:52 in the morning, we get a phone call and there is a problem going on at the company. The customer team is calling us to say there is a problem with Tommy, the chatbot. Tommy has been sending out very weird messages, and we have a screenshot here of Tommy sending a Twitter direct message back when somebody tried to talk to Tommy, and it pointed the customer to our competitor's website. And it's telling them to grow their wealth, which is very inciting, right? Everybody wants to get some more money, so they're using Tommy as a way to send people to a specific link, which could be malicious, which could be bad and cause problems. So we've gotten that Twitter image. We see what Tommy's doing. So the customer success team or the customer operations team is contacting the incident response team and is asking for us to help. So we have to consider a few things, and we need to figure out how we're going to handle this at 4:52 in the morning. So I'm going to turn on vote now. What this is going to do is, if you are using your phone or your tablet or your website, on that URL you're at, you should see now the options that you can consider and then vote. And I'll watch for the responses to move up here to see if we're getting major votes. But let me go through the three options we have right now. The first one is, what do we do? Do we turn off Tommy for all customers? Do we go in and say, let's just turn it off? It's sending out crazy things. Let's just get it turned off. Or do we start an immediate investigation before turning it off? And we talk with the customer operations team. We talk with IT. We kind of start to figure out what's really happening here before we start turning off Tommy. Or option three, do we interact with Tommy ourselves? Do I wake up and jump on my computer and say, okay, let me start talking to Tommy and see what's happening here. Let me do the actual investigation myself. So this is the three different options. I see that the responses are going up. So what we can do is just give a little bit of time here to get responses in. And then once we see the responses, we'll spend some time talking through the responses. But I'm curious to see, hear why people are voting for what they're voting for. I think that's fun to elicit. Again, this is all anonymous, so we won't see who's voting for what. But, I think it's fun to also hear from people why they're voting for the things they're voting for. So.
Solo agregando, si tienen alguna duda, están abiertos el chat. Pueden postear ahí todas sus preguntas o dudas o cualquier comentario que tengan en inglés o español. No se preocupen por eso. Nosotros aquí estamos al pendiente de eso. Bueno, les dejo que respondan.
Yeah, and I see the request for me to go slower. So sorry, I will try to go slower. I appreciate the feedback. So I see we have 43 responses. We're going to wait a little bit more, maybe give it about 10 more seconds before we shut down the responses and go in and see where the votes fall.
Para aquellos, si alguien no se pudo conectar, arriba aparece la liga, el código, en cualquier momento se pueden unir.
What do you think, Carlos? You think we have enough responses, or do you want to give a little bit more time?
Well, I think we should move forward, Josh.
Okay.
So go ahead, please.
All right. All right. So here's our responses.
Yeah.
So it looks like 54% said that we should turn off Tommy for all customers. 38% say that we should start the investigation immediately. And then we have 8% saying that they want to interact with a chat bot and try to figure out what's going on. So this is where I love to have the conversation. Carlos, I would love to hear from you. What's your thoughts? Which one would you have voted for, or did you vote for? Just to hear some opinions around voting.
Well, actually, the three options, I think they are all valid, because many of the managing teams, what like to decide is to get the more information you have, you will be more able to make a decision. But in this case, I definitely think that turn off the Tommy would be the good answer in this case, no, from my opinion. So that's what I think. But I think that you can turn off Tommy and you can start with the investigations, and maybe you can interact in another way. But I think that should be the you need to close the door. I think would be the first choice that I've made in that position.
That's a good one. This is where I'd like to ask the audience also. Does anybody want to put in the chat, or tell us why they voted for whatever option they voted for?
Sí,
anything strike them.
Si gustan compartirnos sus opiniones en el chat, qué piensan de las opciones. Si alguien piensa distinto a apagar Tommy, pues bienvenido, ¿no? Nadie tiene una opinión. Alguien pensaría, por ejemplo, vimos algunas respuestas. Bueno, aquí viene una de Laura. There's an opinion from Laura, Josh. What she thinks is that we need to isolate the problem. No, that would be the first thing.
Right.
And there's another from Simon Eduardo that is telling us that Tommy could affect in a serious way the business processes in place. No, so the better choice is to turn it down. No, turn it off. No, so that's the kind of opinions that we are having. There's another from Samuel. Gracias a todos por participar. Thank you for.
Yeah.
Turning off to minimize the impact. Definitely, I think that's a great comment, a great choice. Also, you can make the vote of last activities. No, cutting off Tommy for all customers only.
Right.
Okay. That's
all good thoughts. I definitely I agree. I think turning off Tommy would be a good one. Let's isolate, like you said, Carlos. Let's just shut the door to it. But I think there's also some good ideas coming up of, hey, let's turn it off externally so nobody else can engage with it, and then we can start the investigation. So it kind of runs both option 1 and option 2 together. And then I think from a cybersecurity perspective, we always want to be able to engage with the problem and try to figure it out. So I can see how option 3 is very enticing. So let's go ahead and vote. Option 1 seems to be where a lot of us land. We believe that there's good use of both of these, but this was a big impact. So let's go ahead and vote, and let's see the answer we get back, or the feedback we receive. First, we think this is a good answer. Absolutely. Let's get this turned off. It's causing a problem right now, and we do not know the link. As of now, we don't know the link it's sending to customers. So it could be a malicious link. The attackers could be doing something to people, and it's through our service that they're doing it. So there's a lot of potential problems there. One of the things, though, that we can consider, that probably should consider, is the fact that if we turn Tommy off, everybody will know it, and then that produces a way of saying like, hey, there's a problem going on, and word might get out. So I think that's something that we think should be considered, but it's not always going to be the biggest problem or the biggest issue that we have. But I think everybody seems to agree Tommy's a problem right now. Who knows what it's doing? We need to turn it off. So I think that's a great answer that everybody has made together. Carlos, anything to add to this before we move to the next one?
Well, actually, let me translate just a little bit,
okay.
Josh. So, digo, como pueden ver todos en pantalla, pues es una buena respuesta. O sea, realmente es claro que hay un incidente de ciberseguridad que está sucediendo y bueno, pues definitivamente hay que pues no únicamente se trata de apagar el robot, sino pues también el no descuidar la parte de atención a clientes, ¿no? Como una de las actividades. Entonces, como podemos ver, pues no es tan sencillo como solo cerrar la puerta con Tommy, sino pues también hay que darle continuidad al resto de los procesos de negocio, ¿no? Y bueno, pues nada más explicándoles lo que ustedes están viendo en pantalla, a través del proceso de toma de decisiones, lo que nosotros estamos viendo del lado derecho, como le dice, es pues el precio de la acción, cómo se va viendo impactado por esta incidencia y también el indicador de la satisfacción de los clientes, ¿no? Entonces, nada más quería detallar eso. So I was just explaining to the audience, Josh, how all the responses that we're going to see and how the making decision process would affect the share price and the customer satisfaction indicators. No, so that was the only thing. But please go ahead.
Awesome. No, thank you for doing that. I appreciate this. Yeah, so we'll see these throughout the entire exercise continue to move. So very good. Thank you. All right, next inject. So it's been an hour and a half from our initial phone call. So one of the things that has happened is in the investigation, we are seeing that there's more things happening to the company. One of them being that our email server has gone down. So there's problems with the email server. And after seeing Tommy get turned off, news organizations now have sent emails to people in our business. And because our email server's down, all of those emails have been kicked back. So now the news, the media, they know that there's a problem happening. So what they've done is they started reaching out to us over social media. For instance, your LinkedIn, you're getting messages from LinkedIn. This one's from a security researcher. And they said, hey, we see that there's a problem going on with your company. We saw there was a problem with your chat bot. We would love to help. So they're wanting to be able to help us engage. They're asking if they need that. But we're also getting media requests from big organizations, from Wired, from the Economic Times. They're reaching out and saying, we are going to publish an article in 20 minutes. So in 20 minutes, we're going to publish an article. Would you like to comment? So they're sending it to your social media because they know you work for the company in cybersecurity. And so they're asking if you want to comment on that. So you're being requested, there's a bunch of information and requests coming to you from your social media account, emails down, people know there's a problem, and Tommy is now offline. So how are we going to handle these requests from the media, and how are we going to handle it, for instance, from the actual security researcher that's asking for our help? So I'll go ahead and hit vote now so everyone can begin to vote. And while we're doing this, I'll go through the options. So option one being, do we send a generic response to journalists, but provide some information to the security researcher? So do we want to actually engage them? Do we need to, or would we rather ask the manager who is running the cyber incident management team to send just a generic response to both the security researcher and to the media companies? Or do we want to send direct media queries to the official communications team at our financial company, which is called ZTech? Do we want to send that to the security team? To the communications team, and send the security researcher to the actual incidents management team? Or option 4, do we want to tell the cyber team and the communications team to work together to make these replies? You can imagine we're going to continue to get media requests, especially this being that it's so public, the chatbot going offline, emails no longer working, and everyone knows it. So would we rather just say, hey, cybersecurity team, communications team, you have to work together to build out good replies to these media organizations? So we'll give a little time here. Let everyone's response come in.
No olviden compartirnos sus opiniones en el chat conforme van respondiendo, aquellos que ya hayan respondido. Si ven, pues todas las respuestas tienen sentido. Entonces hola, Alma, veo tu pregunta en la parte, entraste al link que aparece en la parte de arriba, donde dice playimmersivelabs.online con el código. Gracias, Alma. Sí, ahí recordándole a quienes se estén uniendo recientemente, ustedes pueden entrar a la liga que aparece en la parte superior, play.immersivelabs.online. Es a través de sus navegadores, les va a pedir el código que ahí aparece y bueno, van a aparecerles las opciones para participar en las respuestas. Les recordamos, es completamente anónimo, no es necesario que provean ningún dato como nombre, email, nada de eso, es completamente abierto, únicamente se les va a pedir el código. ¿Cómo van? Ahora sí vemos, a ver, tuvimos más respuestas en la pregunta anterior. Anímense, ahora sí que no pasa nada. Well, there's an opinion there, Josh, from Ricardo.
Right. Okay, I'm going to do 5 more seconds and then we'll move on. But I think you're right, Ricardo. That's absolutely correct. I think that's a very good point. To deal with the technical failures, and now you have to deal with the company reputation. So I'm going to go ahead and reveal responses. And it looks like talk to the cyber team and the communications team to work together on how to deal with replies. That looks to be the main answer here that most people have answered. We also see a good tie right here between send this up to the manager to build generic responses and to send these things to to the communications team. So I think all of these could be, at least right here, could be really good answers. I think there's some good reasons to send a generic response to the journalist, right? Just no comment, right? No comment. And, so yeah, Carlos, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one.
Well, definitely 4 answers are really, really well, considering the Latin America scenario. It's a common thing to just send a generic response. We have seen from previous experiences and important or major cyber attacks here locally that most of the organizations, companies, or institutions, or government institutions that have been affected, that they just sent a generic response to the media, and that's because it's a very common thing to think that the reputation of the brand here could be very affected. So many of the choices that the companies take is to just send generic responses, no? But that's why I think the option 2 and the option 3 are so divided. But in my case, I also thought that the option 4 would be the most important one, because at this point, what I think is you need to gather more information, you need to involve your cybersecurity specialist, and you need to coordinate them with the communications team to send a proper response, no? Just in basis, because obviously the media is going to drill down, no, and dig deeper into the incident. And if you don't send a correct communication, that could be a turnaround for you, no? So what do you think, Josh?
I think you're absolutely right. I think Maribel makes a great point too, that there's experts on each team. That's with option 3. And so you just kind of hand it to the experts and say, you know, this is for you to deal with. While we're dealing with the technical things, will y'all, you know, you need to deal with how to communicate to the media and everything. So I think that's a great point. I also think with option 4, I think what you said, Carlos, a really good point. You're going to have to deal with having questions go deeper into, you know, how do you, when you say there's an email problem, what's the actual problem? The media is going to dig deeper. And so it's good to have the communications team and the cyber team working together. So the communications team, they don't say anything crazy to the media, that it can be vetted kind of through a process. I think that, there's some really good answers out here. I will say, we do not rank the answers to where there's always a best and there's always a worst. So what's happening here is we could probably put out many good answers. The idea is just to get you to think through it. So if you answer and it says, hey, that's a good answer, it doesn't mean the rest of the answers were bad. The whole point's just to get you playing through the game too. So I want to make everyone aware of that.
Yeah, and just to let me add this, Eduardo Ramirez posted his comment. I think that the comment is pretty accurate, because considering that this is a security incident, we need to be ethical and announce what is happening to the media, and the technical things handle it in the inside of the company. So definitely, I think that's a very relevant and important opinion. I think it's very accurate. So gracias, Eduardo.
Yeah, very much. Okay, great. Well, let's go ahead and answer and move on. We say that that's a great answer. We say being able to work them, just to have the teams work together for the process. And again, I'll just point out that, if we would have gone with option 3, that would have been another great answer, because I think it's been pointed out very well that, let the experts kind of handle what the experts can handle. It would be more of, do you want them to kind of build a specific statement, or do you want to build a process to where they're working together? It's really up to how you want to build that process in the company. But as long as the experts are engaged with how to handle it, then we believe that it will be a great way to engage the problem. So Peggy is asking if there was a time constraint for the answer to media, and it was. They said they were going to publish within 20 minutes. And so they wanted to know if we wanted to comment. And so that was the time constraint, was 20 minutes.
Yeah, and there's a good point from Adrian that many of the companies don't have a cyber team, no? So that's an important thing that need to take under consideration, no? But definitely, it's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think going on with what Adrian's saying is that they think the IT should be able to handle all of this as well, and that's a lot to ask for teams. So yeah, I think there's a lot to ask them there. All great discussions. I'm enjoying this. There's a lot of good input here. So moving on. So we have the attackers have contacted us. They have sent a ransom note. Along with them contacting us, we have noticed that we have systems in our business that are now becoming encrypted. So if you were worried about ransomware, well, it's here. We are being hit with the ransomware. So just to recap, our chatbot was sending bad information to people on Twitter. Our email server has gone completely down. It's been corrupted, and our systems are now being hit with ransomware. They're becoming encrypted. With that, we find when they're becoming encrypted, we find a ransom note. And in this ransom note, they tell us some very scary things. One is that they have exfiltrated, so they have stolen 100 gigabytes of data from us. And two, that data is sensitive customer data. So there's a lot of data that's been taken. Now, not only is it encrypted, but it's also stolen, and it could be extremely important to our customers. So they're asking for $2 million in Bitcoin. They give us their Bitcoin wallet, and they tell us we have 3 hours to pay the ransom. And so we can assume that they're going to put that or sell our information off for our customers. And so now we have to make a decision that we do not want to. So now we need to make the decision of, do we pay the ransom or do we not pay the ransom? I've never actually myself had to make this decision. I hope to never have to make this decision or be a part of it. But we now need to make the decision on whether we pay the ransom, hoping that we'll get the decryption key and they will not release the data they stole, or do we say we're not going to pay the ransom and our options would be to try to rebuild from backups? So this is a tough question, I think. I hear people talk about this a lot, and I think it's very easy to say to not pay the ransom, but I believe we see companies doing it today, paying the ransom. So I imagine the question's a lot harder than it seems. What do you think, Carlos? What are you seeing today?
Wow, actually, that me as well. I hope that I never have to take this kind of decision. It's a really difficult one, but well, it's difficult because either one way or the other, you are already losing information or money, no? So in both cases, it's a very critical thing. But I should go with do not pay. I think that that once that you start playing this game with the attackers, one of the things is that you think that the attacker is going to go away and look for another company that where they can do this kind of thing. But actually, what I think is that maybe he can share this information in the black market to say, oh, this company is vulnerable. So if you want to get easy money, go to this place, no? So that's the kind of line of thoughts that I have, no, for this.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy.
No, definitely not.
No. Yeah, and there's some really good thoughts coming in on the chat for sure. You know that there's a lot of good things to consider, and so I'll give about 10 more seconds here before I close down the voting to go to the answer. And I'll just remind everybody, if you're on your phone and if you're clicking the answer, there's still a submit button that you have to make sure. So if you sometimes on my phone when I play these, I have to scroll up to find the submit button that's at the bottom. So if you haven't hit that submit button yet, then your vote hasn't been counted. Just to let you know, I forgot to remind y'all at the beginning. So
yeah. Solo respondan, ahí les van a preguntar algunos comentarios relacionados con su respuesta, no serán expuestos, pero para que participen, ahí hemos estado por ahí de 52, 53 respuestas, ahí unos segunditos más, anímense. And continuing with the chat messages, there's a lot of relevant information here, no? But for example, one of Bernardo is telling us that paying is encouraging the crime, no, the cyber crime it's giving them wings, no, to continue doing what they do. The other ones, you are not 100% sure that you are going to be free, no, from the ransomware. That's really important. They're mentioning the case if you have a backup, you can move forward from this and not pay the ransom, but it's regrettable to see that not all companies have daily backups, no, or periodically made backups, no. So that's an important thing.
Yeah, I think there's the point's been made too very well, that we're not sure that the information will not be leaked. So since they already have copies of it, what's to ensure that they won't leak the information even if we pay, get the decryption key and decrypt, but we can't be assured that the information won't be used against us in the future. So very difficult situation here.
Yeah, completely difficult, because in the case of the backups of the DRP that they're mentioning, the disaster recovery plan, sometimes what we have seen is that not only the production site is compromised with the ransomware, but also the backups or the DRP, because the company doesn't have the tools to know if they are already back up the infected server, no? So that's other thing, not that we need to take under consideration, no? I had known of some cases here in Mexico of companies that, considering that the ransomware affected completely the operations, they chose to pay. So definitely it's a very specific situation for each one of the companies, but because once you leave it, the process to make the decisions could change drastically. No, Josh, what do you think about that?
No, I think so. No, and I think there's good reason to really actually I really hate to say it, but to actually kind of consider the ransom, especially. I don't think it's right to pay the ransom. If you were to have me vote, I would have voted not to pay the ransom. But I do think that there sometimes is good reason to pay the ransom. If, you know, for instance, we're a public company and we owe it to our customers to at least make every effort to get up and running again and get moving. We owe it to our investors, and we owe it to our customers to make sure we try to get their data secured and not released. So there is a heavy weight on our shoulders to try whatever means necessary to engage and do this. So I think, like like we said, hope to never be in this situation. But I don't think it's as simple as it sometimes looks. And I've seen some questions and some things come across. I see the question where, sometimes would it be worth reviewing the decision? If we're looking and things are still compromised and bad, if we're reviewing the decision, I will, add that they gave us 3 hours. So the clock begins to tick on, if we're going to pay or not. So they usually want to put the pressure on some of these ransomware groups.
Yeah. And here's a comment from Alma that in Mexico, for companies that don't have the resources, you can contact the cyber police, no, here in Mexico. I think that's aligned with the answer, no, with not to pay the ransom. So it's a very good point, Alma. Thank you.
Yeah. No, that's great. No, that's good information to know. So let's move on to the next.
Go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
No, you're good. So yeah, let's move on. So, okay, the technical team has identified, the malicious actors and how they were able to cause all the problems, the ransomware, the email corruption, the corruption of Tommy, the chatbot, and it's through spear phishing. So we know that there was some spear phishing happening where the HR team they made an email look like the human resources team, and people clicked on the links. We have confirmed with the human resources team that they did not send the email, and we have confirmed that many employees have clicked on the link in there, giving an opening for the ransomware group. So now that we know how that's happened, now we're coming to a decision point of what we should do to engage now. Should we start working on an awareness campaign for individuals to take? Should we work with HR to discipline the employees? Should we say, fire everyone here's a list of who clicked on it, fire them? Or should we work with the technical team to try to install preventative technology, so we can keep spear phishing from getting into the organization? Or option 4, should we focus on managing the ransomware incident, and then we'll come back around and deal with this later? How would you answer? So so I'd instead of waiting too long, I think it would be a good idea to just kind of talk through it now. Carlos, if there's anything that you have, your thoughts on any of these, what are you thinking?
Well, it's there are difficult choices, though, because definitely you need to create awareness in all the employees. That's a very important thing, considering that's the attack vector. But also you have this ransomware issue running, no? So wow, it's difficult to start thinking of the future, having this kind of trouble right now, no? So I think that I should go for managing the ransomware incident, no? I think that's a very important thing, no? But that's my humble opinion.
Yeah, and Adrian has out here the idea of to avoid ransomware attacks, and there are some ways, but it's not foolproof. For instance, with this one, it was a spear phishing campaign. The emails got to different employees, and they clicked on a link. There's only so much you can do to keep that from happening. So we look at it that education of employees is by far the best measure to keep ransomware away, because that's going to be who the attackers are targeting, not the cybersecurity teams, not the technology that is being used. They're going to try to target individuals that probably don't have a lot of cybersecurity awareness.
Right. We have 11 minutes to the hour, Josh. So yes, I think we should move a little bit faster just to get all the attendees to see through the whole exercise.
Absolutely. So majority vote was option 4. So we believe that's a great answer, that we don't need to focus on dealing with how it happened now. We have to deal with the issue at hand. So great answer. Just to keep things moving, we are now getting information from some of our customers, big customers that we have, that they are being targeted by this group, and the ransomware group let our customers know that they have their information and that they're going to release their information. So now we have an issue where our customers are being told that there's going to be a problem. So now that we are being told this by our customers, how are we going to handle this? Do we need to start working with our customers and trying to figure this out? Do we need to send a statement to our customers to try to tell them what's going to happen? Or do we just need to tell the customer account manager what's going on to make them aware? So we'll set this for about 30 seconds. We'll leave this one open. But Carlos, what do you think? This one's hard to think through as well, I think.
Yeah, definitely. All the choices are hard in the questions.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, definitely. It's not easy. No, that's why cybersecurity is so special. No, it's not only about technology. It's not only about processes. It's also about people and the processes that we use to make decisions. Well. I think I would go with option one, no, to prioritize this work and begin aiding the customer. I think that's very important to be very strong and content responding to the customer, no, and aiding him, no. So I think that's the choice. Customers come first, especially from my side, no. So
right.
So I would go for that.
Okay.
¿Cómo vamos con las respuestas? 34, son poquitas, please. Anímense a participar con sus respuestas. Ahora sí que, acuérdense, no son respuestas, no hay una pregunta, no hay una respuesta correcta. Todo es válido, ¿no? Como pueden ver, precisamente todas las respuestas tienen un sentido. Please participate. There is no the correct answer. The important thing is how the decisions we're making are taking us to different scenarios. So please go ahead and participate. That's the most important thing.
All right. We're gonna go ahead and reveal responses. We'll see where the vote goes. Oh, this is a close one.
Wow, very close.
Yeah, this is a good one. Yeah, so prioritize the work to begin aiding the customer. That's an option. Or send the customer statement about what's happening and make sure it's vetted by the communications team. And then we had low votes for kind of pushing them off to the account manager. So let's go with option 2. That seems to be the most votes. And we think this is an okay answer. We want to engage with the customer, but right now, and we want to make sure that they get that statement. And we know this is sensitive. But at the end of the day, what we think would be probably one of the better responses is to have the account manager actually go in and engage with them. And that way we can stay focused and the communications team can stay focused on, the bigger picture, dealing with the public. And then we'll circle around with the customer once we have things figured out. Just to kind of remind y'all about, the time here, we're not even 3 hours into the problem right now, the actual incident. So, but no, this is still engaging the customer. I personally, I think it's a great idea because they're a big customer and we want to make sure that they're taken care of. Okay, so since we didn't pay the ransom, time is up. The time from the ransom is up. We haven't paid it. And the attackers are now saying that they're going to go public. They've released a statement on the dark web. The media has a hold of it. They know that there's something going to be released, that information was stolen. So now the news is reporting it. It's not looking very good. They've sent this statement now. And now everyone knows that there's a problem. So what do we want to do? How do we proceed now that the everyone knows that we have a problem? Do you think that we should take this public and acknowledge publicly that yes, there is a problem, we're what we're doing to handle it? Or should we kind of go back to something somebody mentioned earlier? Should we not say anything to the public or to the media and actually try to reach out to the attackers and maybe renegotiate paying a ransom or something like that? Or do we need to call our insurers because we know this is going to hurt us really bad? So how do you think we should proceed? Carlos, I can see how it'd be it would be probably a good idea to reach out to the attackers and try to ask them to not do this and maybe negotiate with them. But I don't imagine negotiating with attackers ever really works, huh?
Yes, and especially in this kind of negotiations, no, you never know, what's going to happen. And as we've seen in other ransom activities, you need a professional for that. So I think that's difficult. I think that it's important as a company to take control of the narrative in this kind of incidents. I would go for that. But well, as all the previous answers, all are valid, no? So
Right.
let's see how it goes with
All
this.
right.
No?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and reveal responses. And it looks like that seems to be where everybody's thinking, that we take the narrative out and we say, hey, this is what's going on. We're transparent and we let everybody know. We think this is a great answer. Being truthful never ends up biting you afterwards. It might not be fun and at the time that you're doing it, but it never seems to be bad. So a couple of days later, the technical teams, they're remediating the issue. They're working on restoring things from backups because we found that we had some clean backups. We were able to work on that. So they're going to restore those from backups. So we've got emails back up. We're able to communicate out, but the press is really taking on to this, especially after that issue that Wired put out, especially after that got released. So we have some good news, but also it's going to take longer than expected. We're looking at it maybe being weeks. So let's look at it from what do we need to do now? How do we need to respond now? Do we work with the comms teams to be fully transparent with the press? So we start just telling them what's actually going on over the past 3 days. Do we create a holding statement? Meaning, do we just build some statement to say we're working on it? We'll let you know once we know more. Or do we work with the customer success team to be fully transparent with our customers? So the idea here is, do we just create a generic statement, or do we work fully with the press, or do we work fully with the customers? Like, who do you want to work with first? So yeah, I kind of looking at this, I kind of think it goes back to maybe if we push them off earlier, the customers that said, hey, they're going to release our information. It makes me lean a little bit towards wanting to work with the customer because it's their information that was stolen. So yeah, Diego, I agree with you.
Yeah.
They have skin
totally.
in the game for sure. What do you think, Carlos?
Yeah, definitely. I think we should focus on the customers. And also something that I think it needs to be mentioned is that this kind of thing, this kind of attack, it's something that all companies are exposed to, no? So well, but first, where the money comes from, no? From the customer. So I think we should take care of that and be open and transparent with them, no? In this kind of situation, no? That's my line of thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the customers are how we get our money, right? So
Yeah.
I keep them happy, right? Yeah. Okay, so 6 months later, so 6 months after all this has happened, we're now having to we're still dealing with the incident, we're still dealing with the problem, but we're doing a lot better. But what's important now is we're getting to the point that we need to start prioritize how we're going to handle this in the future, how we're going to be able to help the team that we have now, because they're being burnt out, they're being overworked. So we have to think about how we're going to prioritize to continue to fix the issue and to prevent the issue. And so this is the last one here. This is going to ask you, do we strengthen our senior management, which means we strengthen policies around handling this, or do we strengthen our technical team and add additional resources? That would be spear phishing campaigns, things like that. Or do we help the customers with the problems they're still experiencing and put our resources on that? So this is it. 6 months down the line, we have to think about how we're going to handle this in the future if it happens again, and how we're going to continue to handle this with resources as the problems still go.
Wow. All three choices, I think, are very relevant, no? We were talking about the customers and where the money comes from for the business, but also we have been talking about the future and how to avoid in the near future this kind of incident again. But the other one is that you need resources, no? And what I was seeing in the chat is that many of the companies don't have the enough security technical resources available. So all three I think are relevant, are really important. But I will keep in my line of talks with the customer.
Okay. I think that's, I mean, yeah, it's hard for me to imagine a bad one here. So I'm going to go ahead, reveal responses, and it looks like we're going to work on senior management. Work on policy updates, upskill, make the team stronger for incidents like this. And so I think that's a good one too. I think all of these are good, like we've said. So I think that's a great one to do. Let's look, and we think that's a great answer. Actually working on policies to help mitigate this quicker. And that's it. We're done. And so I know we're a minute over. I apologize. I think this is good interaction. It's hard to do this whenever so many people are engaged and we're getting good interaction. It's hard for me to keep track of time. So I apologize for that. But I really do appreciate everybody's time today and being able to play this.
No, thank you very much, Josh. I think it was a great presentation. It was a great interaction. I want to thank everyone for participating. As you can see, the cybersecurity not only affects the technical teams, it's the whole company gets involved. No, so definitely, I think this has been a great exercise. We are welcome to receive your comments. Fau, please go ahead.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Carlos. It was an amazing session. We also have fun. We love that the audience is writing. They had fun. So thank you, everyone, for participating. And I just want to invite you. Next week, we have our 2 last models. So we will have on Monday, our 9th model on cyber executive surveillance. So please join us 10 a.m. And well, thank you. Muchas gracias a todos por unirse. Gracias a la audiencia. It was really fun. Gracias a todos. Nos vemos pronto.